I'm Loren Lockman of the Tanglewood Wellness Center. Why fasting? Well, fasting is an incredibly powerful tool. In the natural world, health, perfect health, is the natural condition. And every species, approximately 25 million of them, when sick enough or badly enough injured, will lie down and stop eating. Fasting is nature's way of allowing the organism the opportunity and conditions to cleanse and heal. Every organism is self-healing and self-cleansing. And so fasting simply allows the body the chance to do what only the body can do as well as possible and as efficiently as possible. That's why fasting is such an incredibly powerful tool. I came to fasting myself in 1987, 1988. I had gotten very sick and wound up 3 years of medical care getting worse all the time. I finally realized if I wanted my health back, I was going to have to figure it out myself. And so I looked around. I understood that animals in nature were fasting. I came across a book about fasting, which prompted my interest. And when I started looking at what happened in nature, I realized this was the natural solution. And so I tried it. What happened for me was amazing. I wound up going from being very sick to truly not just recovering from those specific issues. And I was dealing with chronic fatigue syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic sinusitis, systemic candida, and 57 allergies. And I not only recovered from all of those conditions, but I took my health to a much, much higher level. And I looked around at the fasting centers that were around at the time, and I wasn't really thrilled with what I was seeing. I wound up doing a lot of fasting on my own at home. I was coaching other people on health as a health coach, working on diet and exercise and all of the other aspects. And my coaching clients knew that I'd been fasting myself. And they began petitioning me to guide them through the process. Well, initially I didn't feel qualified to. I didn't have enough experience. I didn't have any training. And only later did I begin to take people after I'd already fasted myself literally dozens of times. I've now fasted practically 3 years of my life cumulatively, mostly in 21-day segments. I've done shorter fasts. I haven't done longer than 21 days, and the reason why is because around the time I began to realize that it was okay to go longer than 21 days, I found myself so busy helping other people that it was difficult to take any more time off than that. So I wound up forming the Tanglewood Wellness Center 22 and a half years ago because I saw a need to create a fasting center that truly operated based on the laws of nature. And so while there are fasting centers in the world that are kind of clinical in nature and still typically driven by MDs with their approach, the medical approach, I wanted something that was different, that actually represented a natural approach. And so Tanglewood was born 22 and a half years ago. Since then, we have fasted 4,000 or 5,000. I don't remember exactly how many. We actually lost records at one point some 7+ years ago, almost 8 years ago now. But we fasted many thousands of people for an average of 26 days. We have seen incredible things happen. Not only does fasting help with, well, essentially, as I said before, because fasting simply provides our self-healing, self-cleansing organisms, the body, with the conditions it needs to cleanse and heal, it's beneficial in virtually every condition. If the body can heal, if the body can cleanse, it's going to do so more efficiently and more effectively with fasting. And so over the years, we've now seen more than 500 people with hypertension, with 100% success eliminating hypertension. We've had in the last 2 months, we've seen probably 5 or 6 more cases of hypertensive success. That is to say, the elimination of hypertension as a result of fasting. We've seen 100% success with type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, the vast majority of diabetics out there are type 2 diabetics. This is insulin-resistant diabetes. In many cases, it's directly correlated to obesity, overweight and obesity. And we've had 100% success. We just had another type 2 diabetic leave here last Saturday, eating nothing but fruit for a week with perfect blood sugar. And this is a typical result. We see powerful results with type 1 diabetes, but that's a trickier situation, and these are people who need insulin. So we're, in most cases, not going to be able to get someone completely off of insulin, or I should say they're not going to get completely off, because we're not doing anything here. All we're doing is offering people guidance based on experience. This is a non-medical process. This is a completely natural process, and all we're doing is giving people the benefit of my years of experience, telling them what's happening, why things are happening that are happening, and allowing them to make the decisions that are in their own best interest. And that's ultimately what's happening. So the benefits of fasting are, first of all, detoxification. You may have heard the word autophagy. It's being kicked around a lot these days as intermittent fasting has come to the forefront of people's attention. Intermittent fasting, which I think used to be called sane living, right? Not eating all the time. But intermittent fasting, most people are fasting 16 hours a day, keeping all their meals to within an 8-hour window. I can't imagine who would need to be eating in more than an 8-hour window. I know people do, but that means you could have your first meal at 10 o'clock in the morning, your last meal at 6 o'clock at night. You fast the rest of the day. I've actually been doing intermittent fasting long before the term was coined. It's been 26 and a half years now, and what I typically do is I fast from 6 or 7 o'clock when I finish my dinner until 2 or 3 in the afternoon the next day, most days, and some days until 6 or 7 o'clock the next day. So there's typically a 20 to 24 hour fasting window every day, which means my body has ample time to cleanse and heal whatever I may have encountered that day. Now, frankly, living here in paradise, I'm in Costa Rica in a pristine location where you have clean air and clean water, very few vehicles passing by, no industry. We're in the jungle. We're surrounded by garden and forests, jungles, tons of trees. I mean, thousands and thousands of trees here producing oxygen and nothing causing pollution. And so in this place, I'm not encountering very many toxins on a daily basis. But for somebody who is, it would enable the body to be eliminating those on a regular basis. Now, what we do here is hygienic fasting, therapeutic fasting, where people begin their fast and they consume nothing but water for at least, typically an average of 26 days. Now, we book people by the week, so people could come for a week and fast for 5 days, or 2 weeks and fast for 11, 3 weeks and fast for 16. Most of our guests are here for 4 weeks, which means 21 days fasting, or 26 days fasting with 5, 30 days fasting with 6. Those are our most popular times. This is water only. There's no electrolytes, there's no herbs, there's no tea, there's no coffee, there's no lemon juice, there's no anything else. You can't actually add anything, or it's not hygienic fasting. Hygienic fasting, natural hygiene, is basically a science that says that every organism lives according to the laws of nature. And that means there's a natural diet for the organism. That means that when we sleep would be dictated by nature, and how much sleep we get would be dictated by the laws of nature. Every aspect of our physical health is tied into natural laws. And it's no different with fasting. Every species fasts. No species consumes electrolytes. When they do so, they don't need to, neither do we. Our clients, as I said, typically fast for 26 days, and we see amazing things happen. Again, back to what they are, autophagy. Autophagy is the body going in and cleaning out the garbage. And this could be damaged cells, it could be tumors, it could be lipomas, it could be any kind of growth in the body that doesn't belong there. It could be toxins in the body. It could be almost anything. And so this is always happening. It has to happen 24 hours every single day, or your body would quickly die, because every cell produces cell waste that has to be eliminated. But when we fast, autophagy happens much more efficiently and much more effectively. In fact, the 2016 Nobel Prize for Medicine went to Yoshinori Osumi for proving exactly this, that autophagy happens most efficiently and most effectively, as they say in science, in starvation. In other words, in the absence of needing to process food. And this is why every animal instinctively fasts when it's sick enough or badly enough injured, because they know instinctively that processing food doesn't work very well if there's any significant amount of cleansing or healing necessary. Now, when I say every animal, I mean every one. When you were young and you got sick, you lost your appetite, right? Now, most of us, we become so habituated to eating anyway that we probably don't pay much attention. But the fact is, we instinctively stopped eating as children when we were sick, and that's because our bodies told us they didn't want food, okay? So hygienic fasting is fasting along these lines, and it means not just not eating, but resting completely. Because when you see animals, there's a cat right here on the floor with me, and Bandita has fasted. The other two cats here, Diablo and Blanquito, have also fasted. They have voluntarily stopped eating. When they were sick, badly injured, when they needed to heal, they simply refuse food. They'll stay in one place, they won't move, they won't do anything, they don't do a lot of Facebook, they almost never go on Instagram, they just rest completely. A hygienic fast is about giving the body complete and total rest from everything. And so this means, as much as you're willing to, closing your eyes, resting completely, allowing the body to put all of its energy, all available energy, into cleansing and healing. Anything else we're doing is taking energy away from the processes of cleansing and healing. Okay, and so we see much better results when people are actually willing to do this. Some people aren't willing to do this. They insist on keeping themselves distracted, talking, online, reading all the time, playing games, whatever it is. That's okay, but they're not going to get the same benefits. The greatest benefits occur when one is willing to do as little as possible. When they do that, amazing things happen, right? We talked about hypertension and diabetes. We see incredible results with Lyme disease, with multiple sclerosis, with arthritis, practical lower GI tract problems. There are very few things that your body cannot heal when it has the opportunity and the conditions that it needs. And this is what hygienic fasting is about. It's about giving the body the opportunity to do all of that. So again, it's not just not eating, but resting completely. That's what a hygienic fast is. That's what we're encouraging people to do here. Now, frankly, not everyone's willing to do that. Some people insist on being more active. And I think the reason why is because they're not willing to feel those suppressed emotions. Most of us have been suppressing emotions our whole lives. When we get quiet and still enough, those suppressed emotions begin to bubble up to the surface. When we fast completely, we're going to experience them. And if we're willing to actually do the work of simply experiencing them, and maybe later doing some processing about why they're coming up, what's possible is amazing. We can see huge emotional shifts as a result of being willing to do this work. But it requires being willing to be completely present to what we're feeling. And this is something that most of us have trained ourselves to not do. Our culture, in fact, has trained us to not do this. So, I mentioned that our average fast here are 26 days, but we have fasted many people longer than that. This session, we have a woman here right now who just a few weeks ago completed a 40-day fast here. She came in with a number of different issues and is now feeling much better than she was when she got here. Every year, I probably have taken 5 or 6 people through fast. In fact, there's a gentleman here who fasted with me once before. This year, he only fasted only 26 days. Last time he was here a year and a half ago, it was 42 days. Okay, and again, this is water only. I've actually taken more than 500 people over the last 22 years through fasts of 42 days or more. The longest fast ever that I've supervised was 18 and a half weeks. That's 4.5 months on only water. And this was a young man who came in with stage 4 testicular cancer, and by the time he was done, there was no trace of cancer. Now, that may sound surprising to many people, but keep in mind that cancer cells form in the average human body on a fairly regular basis, it's said. But only 50% of us develop a problem with cancer. Why don't the rest? That's because with the other people, the body's immune function is destroying those cells as they form. People who develop cancer are people who have the congruence of two things. One, high degree of toxicity, and two, poor immune function. Okay, because without poor immune function, the body would destroy those cells. When we fast, the body is able to both detoxify and dramatically boost the body's immune function. This was proven, by the way, in a study published 5 or 6 years ago. Immune function dramatically better with fasting. In fact, one of the markers for longevity, for aging, are the lengths of the telomeres. Telomeres are the tails on your DNA. And it was discovered several years ago that as we age, as we get older, and as we age as a result of excessive exercise, excessive alcohol use, excessive consumption of fatty foods, animal products, and processed foods, processed sugar, many other things, these telomeres get shorter. And they're a direct reflection of our remaining lifespan. They tell us how fast we're aging and how much time we have. And the only effective way to lengthen those telomeres is via fasting. So what we've seen here over these last 22 and a half years is nothing short of amazing. Now, I believe one of the things that differentiates what we're doing here with what other people are doing is the recognition that dehydration plays a significant role in the disease process. And in fact, while toxicity is something that natural hygiene has long embraced, that they would say that there's only one disease, it's toxemia. In fact, I believe that the reason most people are so toxic is because in their dehydrated state, their bodies are unable to detoxify on an ongoing basis in real time. When the body's fully hydrated, it's able to detoxify. And this is why having enough water is so critically important. So I won't get into dry fasting, but there are people out there who are confusing the elimination of symptoms. Symptoms are evidence the body's cleansing and healing. Dry fasting eliminates those symptoms because without sufficient water, the body can't do any significant amount of cleansing and healing. Here, we take it another step. Not only do we recognize that people need to consume enough water to survive while fasting, but they need to consume enough water to rehydrate the old material in their digestive tract. I'm well aware that the medical science literature says this stuff doesn't exist, but every single client who's fasted with me, virtually every person over the last 22 and a half years, winds up eliminating pounds and pounds of old, hard, foul-smelling material. It's usually painful to eliminate. It often takes quite a bit of difficulty and discomfort. This is clearly not the stuff they ate just before the fast. It's clearly not the fruit and salads that they're eating after the fast. It is, in fact, stuff that's been there for a long time, and it's quite different. It's easy to tell the difference. Anyone who's experienced this knows exactly what I'm talking about. We see people here who fasted somewhere else. They often haven't eliminated any of it because they haven't rested enough and they haven't gotten enough water. Now, getting enough water is a little tricky because it's really critical that you not drink too quickly. If you drink too quickly, you're flushing out electrolytes and putting yourself in danger. You can drink quite a bit of water as long as you don't overdo the pace at which you consume it. And so we rarely see anybody having any problems as long as they're taking it slowly enough. The only time it usually shows up is if someone is vomiting repeatedly, therefore they're losing electrolytes. In that case, a lot of caution is recommended. So I would say to anybody, in fact, one of the things that's interesting, as a hygienist, I preach and practice a raw vegan diet for the last 27 and a half years. I've been living on fruit, and simple green salads and nothing else. 1 or 2 meals a day, relatively few calories. That's one of the keys to longevity, well established. All of the 5 blue zones, one of the characteristics that people have in common is low caloric intake. This is what I recommend. And yet we see people here all the time who've already been eating a close to perfect diet and yet aren't even close to being completely clean themselves. How is that possible? That's because until one fasts long enough, it's almost impossible to get all the garbage out of the body, the garbage out of the digestive tract, the garbage out of the cells. All of that happens so much more efficiently and effectively with fasting that when we've had people who've been 20 plus years on a close to perfect diet before coming here, they still see amazing benefits. You know, if I had to sum it up, I would say there's truly nothing like fasting. Fasting is the single most powerful, most beneficial process that I know of. Done correctly, we literally see what most people would call miracles here all the time, healing things that medicine says can't be healed. Now, of course, not a lot gets healed with medicine because medicine is only suppressing symptoms. Fasting is actually giving the body the chance to get directly to the source, to the cause, to cleanse and heal, eliminate the garbage, heal whatever needs to be healed. When we do that, an amazing level of health and vitality is the norm. So, I hope this makes sense.